William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
My name is Rich Sheridan. I've been a homeless advocate for about 13 years in Dallas, and in the last 13 years I've seen the homeless situation get worse and worse and worse. As an example, 10 years ago, the city embarked on a 10-year program to end homelessness. Well, after 10 years, the homeless problem has gotten twice as bad. There's government at work. Will Rogers once said, "Don't complain about government. I'm not doing anything, because if they're not doing anything, they're not hurting us." So the meeting just concluded, the Dallas Homeless Commission, and they again missed the mark. This is a document that they handed out, final recommendations of Housing Subcommittee. And number one, what are the numbers of the homeless that they're trying to address? There's 12,000 approximately homeless in our city. And they're coming up with numbers for permanent housing, transitional housing, vouchers, whatever. But what's the numbers by category? Well, if there's 12,000 homeless, it says there's about 5,000 emergency shelter bed needs, 2,000 transitional housing, and 3,000 permanent supportive housing. They didn't have these numbers, so people had no point of reference. Secondly, they're mostly focused on structural, on building, and not on people. They had a 5-year plan which involved $64 million in capital and $7 million in operating, where it should be reversed. It should be 64 in operating people and $7 million in capital. This is a tremendous flyer by Austin Street Shelter. They've been doing this for 20 years, and these are very, very good numbers. It says that they spend $14.73 per homeless person, and that basically is food and shelter and case management, which is $5,500 a year, which is a far less cost of the $40,000 a year that we're presently spending on jail and health care costs. So I made 4 points here. Number one, they're looking for best practices. What should we do here that other cities have done that have been very successful? Number one, New York City is a best practice. New York City came up with a law in the late 70s that every homeless person must be sheltered if they request it, and they've got about 40,000 homeless in New York, and they spend $600 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but it really isn't. Conflict of interest on the board. Last meeting, discussion came up about the cottages, which cost $140 million for a cottage that's about the size of a big garage, 400 square feet, where our builder, DFW Construction, said I could do the same thing for $30,000. It looks like we have the old model versus the new model. The old model is into making money by building structures, and the new model is about addressing the true problem, and that's homelessness and emergency shelter first. So that definitely is a conflict of interest, because we're going to have recommendations here that could benefit. We're going to have recommendations coming out of this committee that could benefit some of the commissioners that are going to be voting to line their pockets to continue with the old model. So again, the number one need in Dallas is emergency shelter beds. We need about 5,000 emergency shelter beds. Permanent housing, housing first, won't accomplish that for minimum 5, maybe even 10 years, and spend probably 5 or 10 times more than is necessary. There's basically a fire out there, and there's little water of truth to put it out. It's like the pimple on the elephant. They're focusing on permanent housing, housing first, where the only way to get people off the streets today and tomorrow is to have like an Austin Street Shelter. The Austin Street Shelter been operating for over 20 years. They got 450 mats on the floor, and we need at least 10 more Austin Street shelters. We need 10 more Austin Street shelters. So lastly, what's it going to cost? In the flyer, $14 $2,000.73 a day, prorated that's $5,500 a year. $5,500 a year, or $28 million to house, to provide basic shelter to the call it the able-bodied, those that don't need to have medical attention, nursing, psychological care, that type of a thing. So it'll be more than $30,000 a year. It might be, might be more than $6,000 a year. It might be $20,000 a year for the 20%. So basically, they're in the wrong direction. Again, I believe that the mission, the agenda was to come up with what the mayor and the mayor's favorite homeless provider wanted, and there's nothing going to change this big ship going in the wrong direction than a major event, a major embarrassing event in Dallas, Texas. And I'm looking forward to James Dunn doing something about it. So anyway, we need to pray for the city more than ever. And by the way, pray for our nation more than ever with this very this is a Halloween boo for this coming presidential election. I'm not going to take sides. I'm just saying it's disgusting with all these personal attacks. We don't need it. Thank you.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.